what I enjoy most is the interaction between me and you. I love being able to hear from you. I love being able to respond and also provide additional follow-up when needed. It sharpens me in my service of you. And so if I could get the chamber staff, or you guys have the microphones already? You're on? Okay. Got one or two? Two? All right, so let's, why don't we just open it up for questions and let's take it from there.
Raise your hand. Jean.
Thank you. Governor, I'm pleased that the legislators acknowledged your interaction with them this year. I know firsthand that you weighed in, you and your staff, a couple of times when things seemed high-centered on the energy issues here in Fairbanks. I'm just wondering, though, if you can give us an idea of how you picture us taking the next step as we prepare for the next legislative session.
Thank you. There is no question that affordable energy for Fairbanks is the most important priority here. I've made that clear. Your legislators have made that clear. Energy costs are clearly number one in terms of priority for your legislators as well as your administration. You heard Representative Thompson talk about how I gathered together the interior legislators. We put on the table every single idea that was out there that had been brought to Juneau, and I said, what can we agree on to move Fairbanks and the interior forward on more affordable energy? And came around a plan that involved gas. Fairbanks' future involves gas. There's just no question about it. And put together the step towards that trucking solution that state has anteed up close to $7 million towards that solution just in this budget. And we said, what now needs to happen? This is where Gene was going with this question. What needs to happen? Because in the short term, that's going to be 3 years in coming. And then beyond that is a large diameter gas line. And even though we're in a historic place where 3 producers have aligned with a pipeline operator for the first time in our history on an all-Alaska gas line to Tidewater, that's still some years off. And I think what needs to happen now is that the companies here, and I don't mind speaking about GBEA since you're there now, GBEA, Fairbanks Natural Gas, need to come together on a plan to take advantage of what the state wants to do with infrastructure here, because we are willing to step forward on infrastructure. That was made clear with these appropriations, both for gas storage as well as for the distribution system. That's a fundamental element, I think, this summer and into the fall that we need to see happen here. And I've told the story about the Northwest Arctic Borough because what you saw happen here is an example of what can come about with a community coming together around a solution. They decided to go for natural gas. NANA's involved in going for that natural gas up there as well. I need similar companies here to move forward and work with me on a plan to move gas to the customers here. I also want to point out something that is not talked about too often, but it was also mentioned that weatherization got a significant amount of money this year, and it was, my numbers say it was about $51 million. And I had some numbers run in the Fairbanks North Star Borough and asked, what's the utilization rate of what's already available to Fairbanks and interior residents? There are over 21,000 owner-occupied homes in the borough. Only about 4,500 have applied to participate in the rebate program. That means that there's 22% utilization. And I understand that there are some issues involved with the rebate. Some people can't afford to go do that. But I also can tell you that some can and have not participated. You can reduce your energy costs by taking advantage of AHFC's energy rebate program. Call them up, ask for an energy audit of your place, get on that list, get the information. We also have low-income opportunities through Alaska Housing Finance Corporation for weatherization and energy efficiencies with the homes. That's another key way that you can reduce energy costs. So I hope that's answered a part of the question anyway in terms of what can be done. And I look forward to continuing working with Fairbanks legislators and with Golden Valley, Fairbanks Natural Gas, Flint Hills, because it is going to take this comprehensive solution that involves the industrial users as well as the space heating needs of these communities. What other question?
Governor, would you consider?
Yes.
Would you consider?
Yes.
Getting out your ink pen and by executive order, how about some parity in fuel costs until we get natural gas for everyone? How about we have parity with the fuel cost in Anchorage? I believe it's $9 for a million BTUs for gas that you've been enjoying your entire life. How about let us enjoy what you've had growing up as a kid?
That's exactly what I'm trying to do.
How about you, by executive order, we have the refineries out here sell state royalty oil to us for our heating needs for the same price parity as what you have in Anchorage, and then when we get it all figured out with the gas line, then everybody will be equal again.
It's a wonderful idea. Constitutionally, I cannot do it exactly like that, but I am working to bring parity to this community and surrounding communities, Bernie. When you look at what we just signed here with gas storage, Cook Inlet has enjoyed gas storage credits for 2 years now, and this area did not enjoy the same, and exploration credits. With this legislation, thanks to people like Representative Thompson and your other legislators in this room, Cook Inlet, this area, and Northwest Arctic Borough, Kotzebue, is on parity when it comes to that sort of initiative. So I am working diligently and will continue working to bring affordable energy here in every constitutional means possible.
Governor, we can't wait another year. This winter coming up, we're going to lose a lot of residents. We need you to lead the parade. Please, just do it and let the legislature worry about it later. You can at least get away for it for this winter. They're not even back in session until. When you guys go back in, Bill, we're not going to get close and we'll go along with it.
I love you and I'm leaving. Thank you. Who else?
Hey, thanks, Bernie. I like that idea. Yeah, you touched on it, Governor. Space heating is really the crucial need here. We appreciate the fact that trucks will be coming down with natural gas for the refinery and for TBEA, but heating our homes is really the critical nature. And whether it's from a new discovery in the Nenana Basin, whether it's from rail cars on the Alaska Railroad, hauling natural gas up from the northern extension of the Cook Inlet, I guess around Big Lake up here, or somewhere in the regions, we need heating fuel for the interior. And so, yes, anything you can do for that will help us a great deal, quickly.
Governor Richard Green, I just want to make a brief comment on your weatherization, just a little side note. We have a lot of 5-star plus houses here in Fairbanks. We've been building to those high standards for quite some time, and I know even my own personal experience is there's no place for me to go with the existing incentive program that you just mentioned. You have to show an increase in your ratings. So even with a 5-star plus house, you burn 2,000 gallons a year for fuel. You can do the math, $4, $5, it gets pretty expensive. So that's a little side note. What I wanted to bring up here is the fact I'd like to give you to give this your assurance, and we've got some players here from the Senate side. I don't know, personally, I do not want to see another year go by where you guys are loggerheads down there. I don't see, we are hiring you guys via votes. You as the governor, the Senate, and the senators and whatnot, go down there and on our behalf to perform a job for us. When I see you guys down there fighting back and forth, I applaud the Senate side for being conservative and wanting to make sure to get it to everybody. Their hearts are in the right area. Your heart's in the right area. Meanwhile, our heart's getting frozen up here. So I really encourage you to be, and I don't want to get you to be unfair and ask you to commit right now verbally because it puts you at a bargaining disadvantage with our buddies that live on the island down there. But we sure as hell need you guys to stay at the table. We're all in business here, and the only way you can negotiate and come to a settlement is if we're still talking and interfacing. And you've got to do that for us down here on both sides.
You already have my commitment for that, and I know you have every legislator's commitment here to that. There's no loggerheads when it comes to providing energy for Fairbanks. When you look at the the amount of money that is coming forward for distribution, for gas storage. I personally called ADA to make sure that they were willing to provide low-cost financing if that was necessary for a liquefaction facility. Your legislators and your administration are all in. We understand.
Governor over here.
Where are you? Oh, great.
Governor Parnell, we appreciate what you're doing to try to help the Fairbanks community and the rural areas which have real problems with energy. Now, up here, our electric bills are horrible. And, you know, we have a fuel surcharge that we have during the winter months, and my bills go from $1,000 a month during winter down to about $100 during the summer. We have been trying to get the Healy Clean Coal Plant off the ground, and I know you've been supportive of that. But the environmental community, for some reason, is opposed to it. And actually, if the operation goes in, if the Healy Clean Coal Plant gets off the ground, we'll be providing less pollution or emissions. And I don't know whether there's anything you can do. The EPA has basically turned it over to the Sierra Club and said, well, if you make a deal with Sierra Club, you know, we'll go along with it. But what can the state do to try to push the Healy Clean Coal Plant getting off the ground? We have a tremendous investment, and that would lower our fuel electric costs substantially if it's allowed to proceed.
Thank you, Roger. I have supported the Healy Clean Coal Plant. In fact, spoke about that with GBEA as well and offered whatever assistance we can be. I mean, frankly, whatever brings energy here faster, cheaper, needs to happen now, whether it's the Healy Clean Coal Plant or natural gas. But the bottom line is we have got to move on natural gas and on coal, and whichever one wins out, if it's going to be one as opposed to two, could be two, the state is willing to support either one. And what I need Fairbanks residents to do, and I'm just going to be bold here and just say, I need you to contact these three companies and say, please get together on a solution with the state. I'm gonna just ask you to do that here.
Go on right here.
Thank you, and thank you, Governor, for coming. My concern, I'm on the Borough Assembly here, my concern is that with the throughput issue, and I want to echo Mr. Green's sentiments, that if the legislature and the administration have a loggerhead.
Are you talking about oil now? Throughput?
We're talking about oil now.
Okay.
The concern that I have is not only a future reduction of state revenue, but the property taxes that help our borough will also drop substantially from a decline in the tax valuation. That doesn't seem to get talked about very much. So I don't know the answer on oil taxes, what's right, what's wrong. But what I do know is that for us as a community, it's a double-edged sword. And I would hope that the legislators and your administration can come to some agreement that's acceptable to both sides and help our production. So thank you.
Thank you. That has been exactly my mission since becoming your governor, is to increase production through TAPs and increase opportunity for Alaskans thereby. You talk about energy. If Flint Hills had 100,000 more barrels in the winter of 2013 coming through TAPs, they'd be paying less in terms of quality bank adjustments. They'd have the opportunity, and we'd have the opportunity to argue with the producers over lowering the price of that oil coming through there, coming off and being refined here in this community. But bigger picture than that, you're right. It has to do with property tax revenues. It has to do with our ability as a state to function economically. And so that is why I proposed HB 110 in 2011 to say, let's reduce our taxes and increase investment in this state. And we all know that got bogged down. Little chuckle, yeah. Got bogged down, but we kept working it. And the House passed legislation designed to incent more investment in this state. Went to the Senate. The Senate was unable on a 10-10 split to pass comprehensive legislation. They passed legislation addressing new fields, not existing fields. And the existing fields have a ton, millions of barrels of oil that has not been tapped and won't be tapped unless it's economic. That's the oil that could have been coming through in 2013 or 2014. The new fields will get us oil in the out years. The existing fields need to be tapped now to lower the cost of fuel here, but also to increase production through taps. So I will continue focusing on increasing production through any means possible. I'll continue asking legislators to join with me in that. And I do have to tell you that in the end, in the special session, as the press was reporting what was happening, here's what I was seeing from and this is from my perspective. My perspective was that the state could live on $8.5 billion of revenue instead of $10 billion of revenue a year in exchange for economic growth and more throughput through that pipe. The Senate came back and said, we don't have a way to get to 11 votes on existing fields. We'll incent new fields out there sometime in the future, which I was happy with, that part. But I said, let's take the methodology that the Senate applied, that some in the Senate, or most of them applied. Let's take that same methodology, because if they think it's going to incent investment in new fields, it ought to incent investment in existing fields as well. Silly me. That logic didn't seem to carry through. And what I did is I actually basically split the difference by 2013 between my earlier position and the Senate majority's position. We could not get there. There just was no way to break that 10-10 split. And that was my perspective on what I saw happening. That was not communicated through the press. I could have done a better job of that, perhaps. But we need people who are willing to not only study this, but find a way to get more throughput into taps. I'm willing to continue working with our legislators to do that, and you've got some champions in this room for that. I think that's good for Fairbanks, the interior. I think it's good for Alaska.
Looks like we have time for maybe one or two more questions. If you have a question, you can raise your hand if you're on that side of the room, and Jordan can help you out.
Governor, my name is Nancy Graff, and I do 4-H. And I was wondering if you would honor us by doing celebrity showmanship at the fair this year. It's on August 9th, and what it would be is me showing one of the market animals for the 4-H and FFA.
You know, I make being at the Tanana Valley Fair a priority every year. I will work to see if I can be there on August 9th, but if you would get with Melissa Stepovich, who's the director of our Fairbanks office, we can get that into the scheduling queue and make it work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, one more question exactly like that.
Here's your softball. I appreciate the fact that last week when you met with us mayors that you pledged yourself to work on a now-term solution for our energy. As you've heard, expensive living is driving people out. We have no new building permits in the city of North Pole for the first time since I've been there. Bankers don't have any new investments that they're putting out in terms of commercial buildings and such. Realtors tell me 85% listings above last year are already occurring. We've got to have something more than hope, and we appreciate what you've done for us in the legislation that has been discussed today. What do you see, I know you've been thinking about it during this last week, as a now-term solution that you can help us with this winter in providing us, as Bernie was saying, with affordable energy, if not on parity with Anchorage, at least affordable to us so that we're not having an out-migration issue?
I've already said I will bring to bear whatever constitutional authority I have to assure that you have more affordable energy. That's my pledge. That's what I have worked with these legislators on. Am I authorized to write you a check in January? No, I'm not. but I am authorized to make sure that this money gets spent, that it gets spent well, and that these companies come together around providing affordable, truckable gas to this community. And I do want to encourage you to take advantage of state programs that exist now, like weatherization, like LIHEAP. That is not a total solution, but for an individual who can get relief into thousands of dollars in one winter, that's meaningful. So I'll start there.
One more question.
Representative Fairbanks.
Thank you, Governor, for being here. It occurred to me that when Williams' brother had the refinery out here, they were paying a certain amount of premium on the barrel. When Flint Hills purchased the coal, that premium went up. We have a desperate situation with gasoline at the pump here in the city of Fairbanks and in the interior especially. Is it possible to lower that premium, and it means constitutional problem because it's a statewide thing, to lower the premium to allow the refinery to reduce its expenses and thereby reduce gasoline at the pump?
Of course it is. The Flint Hills Resources Agreement with the state, the royalty agreement that you're referring to, ends in 2014. It includes a premium that Representative Fate just described. That is a negotiable item with the Department of Natural Resources, and of course it is possible to lower the premium as part of that negotiation. And that's something that I've spoken with Jeff Cook about just in the last week. I mean, certainly those are options too.
Do we have time for one more? That was a quick one. I think Ed King.
Another scheduling question, please.
This will be the last question.
Mr. Governor, I know that there's a really complex issue with lowering the costs. We've all been talking about it. We've been talking a little bit about more of the downstream or midstream distribution. And I know you've been working on a lot of upstream stuff, but when the gas actually gets here to the households, is there anything being talked about in providing low interest loans or grants for actual conversions at the household level?
That actually is part of the planning that I expect the Fairbanks North Star Borough to be doing with its state money for the distribution system. So that will be a part of that planning process and discussion, yes. All right, well, listen, it's always eventful and always appreciated when I get a chance to speak with you and hear from you. And so I want to say thank you. Thank you for speaking boldly and candidly. Thank you for knowing, thank you for being here and for understanding that I will work and do everything within my power to provide affordable energy here, more affordable energy here. And you have legislators who are committed to the same across party lines. Thank you.